And we're kicking off with the Bloodline, and for close to 3 years, the storyline in WWE has been one of the most captivating angles in all of wrestling, with many twists and turns along the way. From Roman Reigns establishing himself as the tribal chief, to the banishment of Daniel Bryan, to the recent tensions, the Bloodline has had a lot of stories, but one idea is on pause for the time being. At Night of Champions, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were able to defeat Reigns and Sikoa, and yet on SmackDown, there was little to no mention of Owens or the former honorary Uce. When BWE was asked about Sami's angle with the Bloodline, more specifically his work with Jey Uso, it was said that the angle has been shelved for now, but will be brought back later. When Zayn was ejected out of the group at the Royal Rumble, it appeared for a while that Jey had left the faction too, but eventually the Uso brother fell in line with the rest of his family. After what happened to Jimmy on SmackDown, Jey's loyalty to the Bloodline is again in question, and while Zayn won't be involved for the time being, his angle with Uso and the Bloodline isn't over yet. At WrestleMania 39, Rhea Ripley captured the SmackDown Women's Championship, dethroning Charlotte Flair in a historic night for the Australian. With her win, Ripley became the first woman to become a Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and NXT UK Women's Champion, but not every plan made it to the show. Speaking to the Battleground podcast this week, Ripley explained that she initially planned for her entrance theme to be played live, but things just didn't line up. She said, "I have Kris Motionless singing my song right now, so I would absolutely love the Motionless in White to perform me out to the ring. We were trying to do it for WrestleMania 39, but unfortunately they had a tour in Germany, I believe, which was already rescheduled from the COVID era. So they had to do that. They couldn't pull out again." While WrestleMania was not the right night for a live entrance, Ripley remained optimistic and said that perhaps Motionless in White will serenade her to the ring at SummerSlam. With WWE talking to the Australian government about an upcoming show, perhaps that'll be when Ripley gives her special entrance, and until then, the Judgment Day star will keep on dominating on Raw. Since coming together last year, the Judgment Day has proven to be a formidable force on Raw and are featured each and every week on the Red brand. Together, the quartet of Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio have proven to be a hit with audiences, but could a fifth member be in the works? During the Battleground podcast, Ripley said that the faction is always on the lookout for new members, and referenced trying to recruit AJ Styles and Liv Morgan in the past. Ripley also laid out the basic rules for someone to be considered a potential member, in that they need to share the same goals as the group and understand that there is no leader figure. While Rhea didn't name anyone who the faction has their eyes on, it has been reported that JD McDonough's name has been thrown around backstage as a potential member of the Judgment Day. McDonough has been vicious since coming to Monday Night Raw in the draft, something that the group will look favorably on, and who do you want to see join the Judgment Day? In March, AEW hosted its first untelevised show, deemed House Rules, which fans had been waiting for some time. This week, AEW hosted more of its House Rules shows, and that name is somewhat ironic given the company has a very specific rule they want all fans to obey. On Twitter, a fan pointed out that fans are banned from bringing wrestling signs to the shows, and said that it was very disappointing from a fan's perspective. In a follow-up tweet, the same fan said that a security guard had told him that AEW's policy is that they don't want fan signs obstructing the views of fans sat behind them. While signs aren't as common as they were back during the Attitude Era, signs still allow fans to make their views clear during shows and support their favorite wrestlers appearing on the card. Given that these are AEW house rules, they can do what they want with these untelevised live events, but what do you think to this edict by AEW? Let us know in the comments below. It was during this year's Women's Royal Rumble that Nia Jax made her return in her first match since her WWE release in November 2021. Given that WWE produced a shirt for her, many thought she was back full-time, and while that didn't happen, the former Raw Women's Champion is teasing a return to the ring. Recently, Nia Jax was spotted back in a wrestling ring as she trained at Devon Dudley's Wrestling Academy, leaving many to believe that she's looking to return to the industry. This isn't the first video like this, as last month, Jax took to Instagram to share a video of her training session with wrestler Casey Lennox and expressed her enjoyment of working with Lennox. During her time away from WWE, Jax was supposed to compete at the Wrestling Entertainment Series event, the promotion founded by AOP, but the event was canceled due to low ticket sales. Whether Jax makes her return to WWE or works with a different promotion, time will tell, but the irresistible force is clearly eager to dust off any proverbial ring rust. At AEW Double or Nothing, Kris Statlander made her return to the ring after over a year out with an injury and made history by becoming the second ever AEW TBS champion. Statlander's win over Jade Cargill ended Cargill's 508-day reign with the gold, as well as Cargill's undefeated streak, and it wasn't just the fans who were happy to see this title change. PW Insider reports that the reaction backstage to Statlander's win was overwhelmingly positive and noted that she is one of the most beloved people backstage. Those within AEW have noticed how hard Statlander works to make her return happen, and she also helped out a ton backstage while she was out with her injury. Statlander has already made a successful title defense, retaining against Nyla Rose on this week's Dynamite, and retained against Anna Jay during an AEW House Rules event on Friday. During Statlander's Dynamite match, Taya Valkyrie was seen watching backstage in a clear tease of a feud between the two, but right now, everyone in AEW is happy to see Kris get her moment. It's no secret that Darby Allin is a risk taker both in and out of the ring, as the former TNT champion loves performing death-defying stunts wherever he goes. Recently, Allin revealed that he plans to scale Mount Everest in 2024, the highest mountain peak in the world, but if he goes through with this plan, he'll still be repping All Elite Wrestling. Speaking to Fightful, Allin shared an update on his plans and revealed that he wants to plant a flag on the infamous mountain and explained why. He said, "I told Tony Khan, I said, hey, I got this idea. If there's a way to get more eyes on the company, like I had been doing with the Travis Pastrana and Tony Hawk stuff, there's more eyes to get on the company through extreme stunts. I'll be the guinea pig for that. What about me climbing Mount Everest? No wrestler's ever done that before. What if I just plant a big AEW flag on top of Mount Everest? I'm thinking of what we could get in return, you know? Interviews with Good Morning America or whatever it may be. I have a team that reached out to me from Discovery. We would document the whole thing. So it's a way I want to give back to the company, so it's not like homie going into the mountains and disappearing." Allin added that Khan brought up the very real possibility that the AEW star could die on the mountain, but Darby is convinced he can climb Everest. Climbing Everest will be one heck of an achievement for Allin, and it will certainly bring attention to AEW, and we'll have to see if the former TNT champion plants a flag in the name of All Elite Wrestling. We've got some unfortunate news now, as last night's NWA Crockett Cup event went ahead without La Rosa Negra, who was pulled from the show for a serious issue. During the broadcast, it was revealed that La Rosa Negra had been involved in a car accident, but was said to be doing well and recovering and hopes to be back soon. Negra was set to compete in a hardcore team war match at night 1 of the Crockett Cup, but 23-year-old indie wrestler Ruthie J instead took her place, and their team got the win over Pretty Empowered. In addition to the NWA, La Rosa Negra has been competing in AEW, Stardom, and Shine, and we're wishing her a very speedy recovery. For years, Dark Side of the Ring has covered the seedy underbelly of professional wrestling, with everything from the plane ride to hell to the tragic passing of Owen Hart being covered. Of course, when you think of wrestling controversies, you think of Vince McMahon, and the chairman would certainly make for an interesting topic for an episode or two. McMahon has overcome litigation from the federal government, the threat of WCW, and even the recent hush money scandal, but fans eager to see an episode about him will be waiting for a while. While speaking with Connor Casey on Comic Book Nation, Dark Side of the Ring executive producer and co-creator Evan Husney claimed that a Vince episode would take years to unpack and work. It's funny to see on social media, I do get a kick out of it. When something controversial happens in the modern age of wrestling, you instantly get the dark side memes. That's fun. The way that I look at these modern stories, with most of the stories we cover on the show, there is the benefit of hindsight, or so much time has gone by, the story is done. The story is finished, so we can really get into it and try to unpack it. These stories that pop up in the last year or two, those are stories that are not really done being told. I think we might have to wait a few years, maybe more, before we can really dive in and unpack and truly understand every aspect of that story. Dark Side of the Ring's 4th season recently premiered with an in-depth look at the lives of Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch, and though a McMahon episode would be interesting, don't expect one anytime soon. And we're ending today with Asuka and Io Sky, who had quite the exchange during this week's episode of SmackDown. When Sky confronted Asuka, the pair had a verbal back and forth in their native Japanese, but what exactly did the two women say? Thanks to a Twitter account that translates Japanese promos, we know that Asuka called Sky a child and stupid, while Sky didn't hold back, calling the Raw Women's Champion a piece of several times. Odds are WWE would not have this sort of language fly from Sky if they had any clue what she was saying, and this week's promo certainly raised some eyebrows for Japanese-speaking members of the WWE Universe.